Hey, Griff Hanlon here. Welcome and thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're actually going to talk about a couple of different things. First, you may remember the other day, I shared with you kind of a blueprint, if you will, for creating slow blues solos as a way to introduce you to my blues solo construction kit. Well, today, I want to show you a similar blueprint that you can use for a shuffle feel blues, which, along with the slow blues, is easily the most popular blues feel. Secondly, however, a little bit later on, we're going to take a look at a BBKingSolo, or BBKing style solo, that doesn't have any of the licks from the Blues Solo Construction Kit course. And I will show you how you can map out the positions for yourself in the tab, and then mix those licks in with the others, okay? Now, one kind of side note before we get started. What I actually intended to show you today was how to incorporate licks that, I'll say, break out of the blueprint. They don't follow the rule, but still incorporate them in with other licks in the blueprint. Problem was, I could only find a couple of examples. One was Stevie Ray Vaughan's Pride and Joy, and in that solo, he pretty much plays non-stop for the whole 12 bars. There is no space. He doesn't ever stop. The other example I knew of, or that I found, was a Matt Schofield tune I transcribed, and it was the same way. There were no spaces more than about a beat or maybe a beat and a half long. And so, and in going through other solos, I kept finding examples of the blueprint. You know, they followed the rule over and over and over and over again. So I decided that to show you how to take one of those solos instead and use the licks, you know, here, since clearly that happens a lot more often. There's just not that many solos that break the rules, at least not in a shuffle feel. And I think it'll be a lot more useful to you to see how to take some other licks out there and, I'll say, pull them into the fold, as it were. So anyway, the layout for a shuffle blues is a little smaller than our slow blues was. There's only 5 positions instead of 7 because of the increased tempo. Now, position 1 is going to take us from the top. It's going to go through the second bar and into the first beat or so of the third bar. So a lick for this position might sound a little bit something like this. Now the second bar, if it was a quick change, is the 4 chord instead of the 1 chord. But I actually didn't find a single instance where that would have mattered at all. The licks all worked just fine either way. Okay, so anyway, after 2 or 3 beats of rest, position 2 comes along, and that'll be near the beginning of bar 4 and takes us through bar 5, which is the change to the 4 chord. Then after a quick breather, position 3 goes on through the rest of the 4 chord and back to the 1 chord, and that ends usually near the end of bar 7. So a position 2 lick might sound a bit like this. And then a position 3 lick might sound a little bit like this. Now bar 8 starts empty and position 4 comes in right around the middle of bar 8 or towards the beginning even, and goes through the transition to the 5 chord. Then there's a rest while the band goes to the 4 chord in bar 10. A lick for that might go a little something like this. Then finally, position 5 starts at the last part of bar 10 and goes through the rest of the form. So a typical position 5 lick goes a little bit something like this. Now I realize that's a lot of numbers and stuff, but by breaking down the whole solo into individual licks and positions like this, you'll see they all go together quite easily. They never overlap and you never have to make any changes. So there's absolutely no worrying about phrasing or handling chord changes or possibly having to, make a change to a lick or add a note or change a note or remove some notes. None of that whatsoever. And while at first you might have to count to make the lick start at just the right time, if you practice the licks enough with the chords going on behind you while you count, pretty soon your ear is going to get in tune with when the lick is supposed to start, even without you having to count it out. And really, that's just a guitar playing skill. It doesn't have anything to do with the blueprint or the soloing. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that, okay? So let's take all of the licks that we just heard and put them together into the complete solo and just see what it sounds like. right, not bad at all. And if you figure, 5 licks for each of the 5 positions, that's 3,125 solos you could come up with. So you're obviously not going to run out of ideas anytime soon. But check this out. As I mentioned, I wanted to kind of talk you through a BB King style solo that I transcribed. Now, as with many solos, it turns out this one followed the blueprint to the T, on the money, just 100% followed it. So this time, let me play you the whole solo first, and then we'll break down the licks, and I want to show you how these fit exactly into the blueprint. All right, now this solo was originally in G, so I moved it up, just 5 frets to be in C like the other one. There's really no reason for that except that I had the jam track already loaded up. Now, you'll remember position 1 goes from the start of the solo, the very beginning, through somewhere in the middle of bar 3. So here's the lick from this solo. All right, so you see it goes from the beginning of the solo through the and of beat 3 in bar 3, just like the blueprint. All right, now for position 2, the lick is supposed to go from the start of bar 4, remember, through the last part of bar 5. Sure enough, the second lick of this solo goes just like this. So again, you see it goes from the beginning of bar 4 through beat 4 in bar 5. Again, just like the blueprint. Now for position 3, the lick is supposed to go through the rest of the 4 chord, which is bar 6, through the change back to the 1 chord, which means it's going to end in the middle of bar 7 somewhere. And the lick in this BB King solo goes like this. So again, it follows the blueprint by starting on the downbeat of bar 6 and going through the and of 3 in bar 7. Now, remember that while position 4 licks start on bar 8 usually, if not always, starts with a rest. Again, it's that whole don't start on beat 1 thing. And then it goes into the lick. And sure enough, we're going to start with a half a beat rest before going through the rest of bar 8, right into bar 9, leaving some space for the band to go to the 5 chord. Check it out, this lick does exactly that again. And then finally, we finish out the solo with position 5, which just needs to start somewhere in bar 10 and then in the middle of bar 12. Usually it's around the second beat, and then the band goes to the 5 chord and the top of the form comes up again, okay? And again, our lick from the BB King solo does exactly that. Here, check it out. Now here's the really cool thing in case you haven't yet seen this. I just gave you one more lick for each of the 5 positions. And you can add these to the 5 that you have in Blue Solo Construction Kit Shuffle Feel, and you'll have 6 licks for each position. And that takes you from 3,125 possible combinations to 15,625 combinations, just like that, okay? So here's the next thing I would suggest you do. Below this video, I'm going to leave links for you to download the PDF of both solos that I've demonstrated today. And I'll also leave a link to a PDF of a blank shuffle blueprint with the positions labeled. So it'll have position 1, position 2, position 3, 4, and 5. Download and print out several copies of the blank in particular, and start mixing and matching the 2 options you'll have for each position. So with the 2 solos, you're going to have, 2 licks for position 1, 2 licks for position 2, 2 licks for position 3, so on and so forth. Okay? You could start, for example, by using the entire first solo, but just change the first lick, and then, use the first lick from the second solo instead. All right. Then maybe try swapping just the first and third positions and see what that sounds like. Even with just these two possibilities for each of the 5 positions, you have 32 different solos you can come up with. So it escalates really, really fast, okay? And then if you dig this stuff and you want more of it, of course, I really think you'll love my Blue Solo Construction Kit course. And I would encourage you to go check out the current offer for that. And really, that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. This was a lot of fun. I know it's a little bit different, but I hope that you'll take my suggestion and really work on this for yourself. Grab a pencil, print out some paper and actually write this stuff down and give it a whirl. And of course, grab a copy of Blue Solo Construction Kit so you can get all 5 licks for each position, complete with the breakdowns, the tab, the jam tracks, talking more talk about how to change the keys and how to work with the blueprint and all the other good stuff that comes with it. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.